Hello everybody, welcome to Pastel 16A for beginners. This is a free workshop that's been started since the beginning of lockdown and will continue for a while longer at least, whilst we all come to terms with our changing environment. I do really appreciate that everybody finds some comfort in creativity. It helps me for pain management and helps me for my mental health and well-being. So I'm hoping today it will give you a little bit of peace and a little bit of tranquility. Pastels are not meant to be hard, it's meant to be easy. You'll find that this particular one is really nice to do. There is some drawing in this, but not an awful lot. A lot of it's mainly shading and colouring in. I hope you enjoy today. I'll just crack in. First of all, just to explain, the paper that I use is the canson My Tint paper, which you can buy in A3 or A4 sizes. These are A4, just oversized. And then the paper I use, the smooth side only, that's because you get a better blend, as long as it's well fixative, and fixative is sealing the artwork so that it doesn't fall, the dust doesn't fall off in the frame afterwards. It'll still remain dusty, but it'll steady the pigment that's on the paper. So as long as you use a good fixative, this technique is perfectly fine, and it's much better and more suited to landscapes to not have textured paper poking through. Also as well, it means your pastels go a lot further because you don't have to mudge it in to get the same effects. So today, this is the painting that we're going to be doing. We're going back to Whitehaven. This is Whitehaven Harbour again. Hopefully that's clear enough on my cracked phone screen. This was provided by Alan Carruthers, so if you could please give him some love, find him on Facebook and Instagram. He's very kindly letting us use his work today. It's a beautiful photograph, as you can see, and it's quite simple. And it's very hard for you to see the details, I think, on this video, but it'll come to life on the paper, and we'll enjoy what we're doing. So first thing, I recommend canson My Teintes, as I've just said. Secondly, the pastels that you can buy as somebody who's beginning, I would highly recommend Inscribe half pastels 48 pack. That gives you just about all the colours that you need. The pastels are harder, they don't go on as well as onto the paper as my expensive ones. But obviously, I wouldn't recommend buying the Senneliers or the Unisons of this world unless you were quite invested in this as a hobby or even a career. But mine will probably go on a lot smoother than yours. If it's something that you're finding that you love, you'll get to a stage like all my other students that you realise that you're being limited by the pastels, and at that point I would recommend that you upgrade. But for now, if you've got pastel pencils with you, wonderful, but don't worry, you can use the sharp side of your pastel for lines. I've just got a little charcoal pencil here, a little grey pencil, a little brown pencil and a ruler. Make sure you've got tissue with you and everything else that you might need to keep your fingers clean, because we're just going to work mostly with our fingers. This is the approximate palette that I'm going to use for today to create this effect. It's a very beautiful sunset. Blue into yellows is just very, very evocative, and it's just such a familiar scene to anyone local to the area to me. So I think what we'll do first of all is we'll draw in the outline of the port, and then the rest of it will all come to life later on. So yeah, this is what we're going to be doing today. I hope you really enjoy it. And if you have any questions at any point, or if you find that I'm going too quick, or if you have any suggestions, you can get in touch with me on Facebook at Emma Hunt Art, Instagram artist Emma Hunt. I'm here on YouTube as well, as you can see, and my website is emmahunt.art. So if you do have any queries at all, please by all means come see me, and we'll help resolve anything that you've got going on in your present life. Like, it might be that you just need some materials, or you need some advice on a certain composition, and all of that is fine. You just give me a message, and I'll happily answer as soon as I can. Okay. So I'm just lightening up this photo a little bit, because I can remember when I first did this there were some features and I couldn't see because it's too dark on my screen. So now I can see a bit more. I'm actually going to, rather than do a black, I think I'm just looking at this picture. I think it would look more muted. If you've got a purple black, I mean this probably isn't black enough, so I'm just going to go and grab my purple black. It might look a lot nicer with the oranges, because last time I used brown. So I'm just going to add to the palette a purple black and another black. There we go. So if you want to grab that, you can grab that. And we'll get started. So yeah, pencils, pastels, paper at the ready. And enjoy. And if you don't want to do it and you just want to watch, more than happy to help you out there. just enjoy the flow of it, and we'll get cracking. So the first thing I'm just going to do is I'm looking at where the horizon line is roughly on the page, and the horizon line is about here. So I'm just going to make sure I line my ruler up to the side like this. This ensures that you've got a nice straight line to the paper. And I'm just going to draw in the line, comes way over here, more or less over halfway the page I would reckon. And that's where your water is the ocean. But you don't want to sit this key on the top of the water because it comes below the water line. You want it to look like it's in water and not sitting on top of the line. So just begin by very roughly, because these lines are probably going to get obscured the more work you put in anyways. Just put in the edges of your work, what you can see here. And then over this side, again, just observe what you're looking at. There's a gap here between the two keys. And I'm just putting in just the indication of where I'm going to be colouring in. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to emphasise on this and get it right as we involve more of the colour from the pastels. That's one of the beauties of pastels. It's very quick to work with. You don't have to wait for anything to dry, and you can just enjoy what you're doing, and then you've got art ready in no time at all. I mean, I imagine this will probably only take me 30-40 minutes to demonstrate today, so we'll see how we get on. Right, so just looking again at the original photograph, and we have quite a nice vivid blue at the top. So I'm putting the pastel on the paper like this, and I'm just scraping it across on the horizontal. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of any visible traces of this grey paper that's underneath. I seem to have a little something under the paper there, but we'll sort that out. Yeah, make sure your worktop is clear as well. I mean, I thought I wiped it down, but there seems to be a little bit of something under there. And just quite generously applying this blue. And then I just take the flat three of my fingers here, and then just in a circular motion start pushing that blue into all of the paper so that we're going to get rid of any of this grey. And the whole idea is about blending this colour until these lines disappear when we change colours. So don't worry about bringing this blue further down than it actually is, because that's going to be used to blend the next colour in anyway. It's quite light still, so I'm going to apply a little more at the top. But I'm going to come in with a lighter blue, so I'm just covering on this first inch of the top really, just to make sure that that's fully covered. And this blue is just so vibrant and beautiful. There we go. Nice strong circular motions with the hand. And if you leave any fingerprints, just give it a whoosh like that, just to get rid of your fingerprints. You can drag this pigment down a little further, because we are going to blend with different colours as we go down. And the next colour I have, it's on the same spectrum of this blue here, which is a paler blue. And now I'm going to go right over the top and leave that 1 inch or so at the top free. Go right over the top of this blue that I've created. And I'm just going to bring it down to about this far, no further than that. And then this is where the magic happens. So get your fingers clean first of all. Always try and blend the lighter colour first, because you're always going to have more, the darker colour is obviously going to dominate the lighter colours. So from the bottom now, circular motion again, not worrying about this line. I don't want to preserve any lines, so I'll push that down so it looks a bit more misty. That line doesn't look as obvious. And then just working this circular motion and bringing these two blues together really. So as you can see, it's just circular, circular, circular. It still looks patchy, but it just requires just a little bit of patience. So push, push, circular motion again. And keep pushing up, pushing this blue up into the other blue. And then again, just across, just to remove any finger marks and everything. Try and get to the edges of your paper okay as well, which is something I've got an awful habit of forgetting to do. There we go. And now we're coming down to more of a sort of nondescript, very pale whitish area where we move into the yellows. So this is just a very light cream white that I've got here. And across the way again, just over the top of this blue by about ½ inch. And we're just going to soften this area here into these nice oranges that are coming below. I'm going to bring that down quite far, and then with a circular motion again, I'm just going to, it's more of a creamy blue actually, isn't it? Just going to push that up into the next line of colour and work on just resolving that there's no lines at all showing. As you can see, there's a little bit of a line here, and we just want to make sure that's completely gone. So just clean fingers again, and I'm just going to work this up and work this up until I don't see any visible change in colours at all. They just fade one into the other, and this is what makes a painting work. You're just concentrating on the little details, but at the same time, isn't it just enjoyable just to have these in your... I know you get dirty and everything else, and a lot of people are a bit OCD about getting their fingers full of dust and stuff, but there's something really nice and tactile about pastels that you don't have, and it's just this contact with the media, with the paper, with your art. It's just so personal, it's lovely. So now I've got a pale yellow, and now I'm thinking about how this yellow evolves into this more striking orange at the bottom. And we're not going to overdo it, we're just going to bring it just above, because we're going to put more and more oranges down here, but the orange is quite strong, so it will tolerate quite a bit of cream on the top. So let's bring it down to about here, and then what we'll do is we'll work out on the oranges after that. Again, now we're working from the lighter colour upwards, circular motion, flat 2 or 3 fingers, and just work it up into the blue, just like so. And I'm just going to keep doing that until all this paper has disappeared and there's no sign of it. So there's still quite a bit of coloured paper showing through there. Try and limit how much you're putting around where you know there's things going to go over the top of your pastels, because if you put way too much pastel on, then the black won't show through, it'll look translucent. So bearing in mind that we do have a lighthouse out here, just do not be too generous with your pastel. Just enough to just keep doing the circular thing. You'll get the right balance if you're just patient with the blending and just pushing in this pastel into the paper, just with the perseverance of just this circular motion. And it's really coming together already. Next part of it is more orangey and more yellowy actually. So now I'm just going to introduce a bit of this yellow. Looking at the photograph, we have more intense yellow on the left than the right, so now we're not going for quite a strictly sort of top to bottom blend. We're going to just play around with some of these shades a little bit down here. So now I'm just kind of putting it on a tip like that, so that I'm still doing quite a thick line, but I don't want it to be too thin, or if I did it that way it would cover too much. So just put it on a tilt like that and just drag it across. I'm not going to take it all the way into here because that's more orange than yellow, but we have got quite a lot of yellow on this side. But we'll come back to the orangey area in a minute. Again, clean fingers bottom up, and just work on making this yellow bedding. The bright colours are always a bit daunting because they are very powerful and you don't require an awful lot of it. Try and keep to your waterline as well if you can, but they don't require an awful lot of pigment addition. Like, you know, like some of the colours are weaker and you need lots of pastel to get that colour on there. But the yellows and oranges are very vibrant, so in some ways they're quite intimidating, but I'd really challenge you to give it a go. So there we have now more orangey on this side. So I have a nice lightish pale orange, which I think personally is quite a good match. So I'm just going to come along here and match what I've already drawn in with some orange. But we have orange all the way down the bottom here as well, but a more vivid orange on the side. But let's go in with this anyway, just for the continuity of this colour. I'm not taking that part too high up. This part can come up a bit higher. Again, nice and soft with your approach. Bottom up, clean fingers, and just go across and push that orange up into the yellow. Not too high and not too low with the orange. And along here, we've definitely got a more orangey glow. I feel like I've lost the yellow, so I'm going to apply a bit more yellow just underneath here. I'm just doing a wiggle with my pastel now, just to create indications of different things going on. All I'm doing is just pressing it down, up and down, little wiggles like that. Whoops. And then I'm just going to pull that across and just get that nice golden glow that's going on down there. At the very line of the water, we have quite a strong orange. So I just need to look at my picture again. If you wanted to, I've not done this before, but you can use a ruler to get this final line in. if you wanted to, but you need to just be mindful that your pastel isn't going to go up against your ruler in the same way that, excuse me, in the same way that a pencil will, because it's a lot fatter. So just put it on. I'm just putting it on its side. I'm just going to draw this orange in. I'm going to allow it to be quite thick. This is a strong orange, so it will go a long way. It will go a long, long way. So I'm just putting that in there. And again, I'm just going to drag it over with my finger just to make that line a little more solid. And then I'm just going to push this up for blending. Get this orangey red just into that colour a little bit more, but not an awful lot. And I think I need to sort of go back into the yellows. I can feel a bit of a line there. And I'm always trying to minimise the lines. So then on this side I've got a little bit of grey to add, just a little, just to sort of mute this down a little. I'm just going to put this big Unison pastel on its side. Just want to soften that a little bit on the edge, and then I'm just pulling it down into that area there. Okay. Now I feel like it's probably a little bit too lemony yellow here, but that's good because like we can always correct. And so I'm just going to put this cream in again, and I'm just going to, I feel like I just want to soften this yellow into the blue a little more, but not too much. And I'm still trying to be mindful that my lighthouse is there, and I don't want to over apply colour at the expense of the lighthouse. I'm just going to do the same soft push up into the blue, push up into the blue. And that's okay, we can change our mind, change our tact on this all the time as it's developing. And I'm sure, you know, you're all finding your own little ways and techniques now to come up with solutions for yourself really. But this is all just for beginners, just to give you a guide. And hopefully you can have a really interesting and lovely rewarding time doing pastels. So I tend to work from the top down, as many of you will know, because when we're working with pastels there's always going to be habit of put your hand down on your work, which obviously inevitably smudges it and ruins it. So this is why I work in this way, top bottom. I'm left-handed, so if it's more detailed it'll be right down that way, you know, in this direction. So now we're getting to just add a few little details into the sky. There's some little tiny light little clouds down there, so I've got this nice soft brown, and all I'm going to do is, just like I said before, a wiggle. So you're just taking it, putting it down straight like that, just a wiggle, a little wider wiggle here, and then as you get to the edge, a little thinner and a little thinner, turn it onto its sharp edge and stop. And that is basically a cloud, and you've done very little. And we just need to soften it because it's just a hint of a cloud. So I'm just going to push it along, just push it along and let it go into the yellow like so. And it just needs to be a hint, nothing more. In fact, that's probably a bit on the dark side. So I'm just going to push it a little bit more. The more I push it, the more it's going to blend into the yellows. Okay, I'm just going to soften this area now. I can see there's a little bit of lines there. And then now we'll attack the water. There's just one little line along here of blue sea, and it's in with this colour here, and it's always very clever to try and bring your colours down, even if it's like a bit more grey and not quite the same. In terms of artwork, it's always handy to have a little bit of continuation with your colours. I'm probably going to lighten it a little bit with the white, but let's see, because it's quite a strong blue. So all I'm doing now is I'm just going to put it on its flat, like that, and just drag it across, following that horizon line. Same over here, just bringing it up to the edge of the key, and that'll do nicely. I'm not putting too much on because it will meld in on its own already. And then just taking one finger, we get a sea effect just by pulling that across with our finger, and it already looks like it's got textures and things going on in that water over there in the background. So now we need to think about colours coming in. I tend to leave blacks until last because they are more damaging if you smudge them basically. So I'm just looking at this blue. I think I might mute it just a tiny bit with a little light grey, which I have here. You might have the perfect colour, but I'm just going to soften it just a little bit with just another push of this grey. Bring that along as so. And then with a single finger, either direction, just drag it along. And it actually just creates a little bit more texture in that water as well, so it looks like there's waves and stuff going on. This area of the key is quite orangey, so it's suddenly gone to quite a vivid orange. I would say that that orange is probably too bright, actually. So I've got another one here ready, which is a paler orange. And I'm just putting it on its side, and I'm just going to drag down, follow the line, just like in the painting, bring it to the edge of that key, trying not to go into your black too much. Bring it down, straight down, this reflection, it's reflecting obviously that there's the key there, but we also need to be able to populate this with colour along here, and it does stay pretty much the same colour. So I'm just going to initially bring that orange over, just a straight line like so, just going to fill these edges in, and then we can apply different colours on top of this as we go along. Another line I think, and we're just going to soften that and bring it down into like a soft grey. So just going on the horizontal like that, nothing more than that. And this time we'll blend these colours together. So here again, there's some grey down here into the orange. It's maybe a little dark, this grey. I'm definitely going to add a little bit more of the lighter grey. But we can add colours to it, colours, that's fine as well. And I'm going over into the orange just slightly with that darker grey. And then I've got this bluish tint here. Actually, I'll use the grey. It's just this is the bigger one. And I prefer to try and drag it on the horizontal like so. Because you get the effect of water with doing very little really. So I'm now going to bring that grey up into the orange a little, and then this is where hopefully it will look like water. Again, on the horizontal, push it across up to the edge of your key, push it across, keeping it nice and straight. You want it to match this line. You don't want to be at an angle, you want to match that line. Push across, push back, push across, and look at that already. That is water, and it's amazing how pastel will just work with you and give you what you need. So we've already got a water effect going on there. We need to add obviously the reflections and everything, but we'll build on them later on. So now I'm quite happy with the initial of the water. I'm probably going to go in with some other colours, but I'm now ready to start filling in the dark areas that are on this. As I said before, I think I'll use a dark purple black this time because orange and purple go nice together. You don't need to do it, you can just use a black, you can use a brown black, anything you like. Just to trace this area, I just use the flat side of the pastel like so, and I just drag it along, and there we are, just bringing it all up together. And bear with me a moment. Oh, okay, do that now. Phone's just gone. Right. Now looking at this top area, we have about maybe this far in before it starts to climb. Again, just using the flat side. I find using it like this, it does feel alien at first because you're used to holding a pencil in your hand and not a chalk. But it acts like its own little ruler because it keeps you quite straight. If I was to draw this like a pen, I'd be a bit wiggly wobbly. So this stops me from doing that, and it helps me have more control, but it's up to you how you do it. The key itself, let's look at the shape of it. I'm just going to go in with the pastel itself, and I might tidy it up later with some charcoal pencil. A little bit of a kick out there. Let's bring it right up to that line so that we're not having to fill in any areas. A little bit of a kick. And then we go up to the top here. There's a little bit of a non-linear bit there, and I'm just bringing that along, trying to keep it as straight as I can to that horizon that I've already done, and then we drop down. That's the bones of it, and you can just carry on using the side of your pastel to fill this colour in, like so. And then what you need to do now, which is the really important bit, is to leave these lines be. Where you've got the dark purple, you do not want to be putting your fingers over that line. Allow that line to blend, but you can do it by not touching it. So I'll just show you as an example. So here we have most of the colour on. It's blotchy. We've got loads of pigment sitting on the paper, and we want it all to blend, but we don't want to interfere with them strong lines that are there. And this is when it's a little bit tricky using your fingers, but I promise you it's well worth it. If you were to put your finger over the line like so, and then drag it along, as long as your finger was always the same above, then it's not going to become mudgy or muddy. So I'll just show you. Right, look, if I do that and I've got that finger, it's not going in, it's only in the orange and it's only in the purple in the same place on my finger, as you can see. That helps you not go over your lines, but you constantly have to can make sure that you stay on the line and that you're not deviating. So I can do it from along here, look. Put my finger on it, I'm keeping my finger in exactly the same place in relation to that orange and purple. And because I'm not muddying the purple into the blue, look at that nice sharp line that's created. So you can do it that way, or you can just fully avoid, which is what I normally say to do, and that is just by just not going into that line at all. But it's up to you how you want to do it really, but the idea is you want to fill this in with purple, no paper showing through. Nice sharp lines, right to that edge there where that drops down again. Give it a blow, and then you'll see if your lines are nice and sharp. Again, I'll just emphasise this again. My finger's over, and in purple and in orange, I am not moving my finger off that line. I'm keeping the line in the same place in my finger, and that just helps create a nice stronger line. But if you're not brave enough, just leave your edges alone completely, and it'll be fine. So now, just looking again at the photograph, and we'll get cracking with this, because I don't think this is going to take very much longer to do. So here we have the lighthouse. Now it's up to you. If you prefer, you can get your pencil and sketch it in. And this is where my hand's going to go on the water, but we haven't finished with the water, so it's not the end of the world for me. And I can use a pastel pencil to sketch this in, or you could use your pastel. There isn't much of a gradient on the lighthouse. It does go a bit conical shape, but not an awful lot. But it's there nonetheless. Just take a good look at the photograph, or at the painting that I'm doing. We have the little walkway that we all know so well if you're from here, and then on top a little bit. We're not going to go into details too much. We're just giving your viewer just an idea of what's going on in this area. And I can use the purple to fill it in, just to bring those colours back together. And you won't really notice that there's black in amongst that. And that would be it really. You just want a hint of it. Doesn't have to look wonderful, as long as it's recognisable. So over here we have another key, and this time I'm going to use the pointed end because it's just a bit of an odd shape. We do have this bigger lighthouse here which is closer to us. Draw in your key again. Now we've got this line, and it doesn't have to be beautiful and smooth because it's rocky and there's all sorts of things going on there. So don't worry about keeping it dead straight. These are old structures, so they're not going to be straight anyway. I'm just going to bring in that line there. And going back to this, there is just a couple of things to note. There is a slight change, taking the sharp side of my pastel as much as I can here, again. Mind you, that's not gone on too well, is it? Give it a blow. Yeah, I'm just bringing that smooth edge, and then we've got a little taper away over there. Actually, it needs to be higher, so I'm quite lucky really that that's gone over a little bit. I'm going to bring that key a little higher. There we go. I'm just going to trace in. There's a very, very slight, it's not quite in line with the horizon, it's ever so slightly tilting down. And then we've got a little bit of a bit of a way moving down that way as well. So just go ahead and use any side of your pastel, nice and bold. Let's fill this in, no messing whatsoever. And then we can get on with just some extra little bits that just set it off better. So fill your area in. We've still got this lighthouse to put in. It's probably going to be something I forget. I always forget something. If you watch me, I always forget something. Right, and now I'm not doing them live. I don't know if you guys just say, where's the boat? Where's this? Where's that? Why haven't you put the sun in even? Right, so I'm giving that quite a broad, heavy coverage. Same rule applies as before. I'm just blowing any dust that's gone under into the blue there. And again, just using my finger. I'm not deviating. I'm in the blue and I'm in the purple at the same time. I'm not deviating. I'm just keeping that distance between purple and blue together in a nice circular motion. I'm just going to ignore that edge there. It's nice and sharp, and I'm going to blend that in. Oh, there we go. A little bit And then just get right in there and fill this area in as well. And there we go. It's an absolutely gorgeous photograph that Alan's captured here, and you know, it was actually, this is the first painting that I sold, and it was this size, and it was this painting, so this is where it all began. This was the first sale for me. You know, I never even expecting people to even be bothered with my artwork, let alone actually be selling it. It's been an amazing 12 months, it's literally 12 months since this all began. It is incredible how well it's been received, and you know, and how much love there is out there is just lovely. I just really appreciate it. So now we've filled that area in, we could stick to a silhouette at this point. We do need to observe these reflections that are happening along here a bit first, but all in all, if you were happy at this point with your lighthouse on and your reflections in, you wouldn't need to put any embellishments in this area. It's just, for me, this area to me looked a bit dark and black. There's too much black on there, so I felt like it needed a little bit more. I'm now going to go in and let's get this done. I'm going to try and put my knuckle so I'm not on the black. You can always try and orchestrate so your finger isn't going to get your hands out, going to mess it up. And I'm just going to draw in a rough sketch again of this particular lighthouse. Trying to keep the angle that it expands from top to bottom the same on either side. And it's quite castle-y looking at the top. As we know, everybody knows this particular view very well if they're from here. And we have that little walkway thing there. You just get that on board. Try and keep your line straight. You can go right over just to make sure your line is straight like that. Because this is all going to be filled in, and that just helps give you a better guide that both sides are actually symmetrical. And then try and get in the middle as you can, and just put that little tower on. There we go. And again, we just shade the rest in with this black, or whatever black you have. I'm sorry about the way the sun's coming in today. It does seem to be putting a lot of shade on the image. So there we go. And again, thinnest part first isn't going to come to any harm if I put my finger directly on it, because it's getting wider further down, so that purple isn't going to bleed. You can just pull it straight down like that to fill it in. Just downwards, not upwards, just downwards, like so. It's going to follow them lines anyway. And there we go, we've already got quite a lot going on. Over here, we now work on the reflections, and we have various degrees of reflection going on. So I'm just going to take this purple that I've got. I may even go in with a lighter purple. I'm going to use the side of it like before. I'm using the sharp edge, and all I'm doing is dotting lines. Nice big generous ones, mind. Bringing them up to the edge of this key here. You don't want them out here. And all I'm doing is stroking with a straight line, straight as I can, here and there, to create these waves. And then as we get further down the way, they'll start to be more and more separated because they're closer to us. And they'll be lighter as well. So we just want the hint of that going on. I'm just looking at the lines here now. We have some thicker lines right at the edge, so I'm going to add some more. I'm trying to keep it in line with the end of the pier here. End of the P. And I'm just tickling that outwards. And then the other defining thing is obviously the lighthouse leaves quite a long reflection. So draw your line down with your pastel to where your reflection should be, and start adding quite a few extras. In fact, you can fill quite a lot of it in with the dark. And then obviously just follow this pattern as we get further away. There'll be less of it. But it's quite distinct and it is there. We'll just add these lines, and then we can make this more water-like, just with the same technique that we were using before. Flat finger, you could take the whole lot on and just give it a swoop, and it just softens that out completely, look, which is nice. And we can soften these stronger lines just with a slight nudge either side. You could roll your finger over it if you like, a little bit like that. You just want to soften that line so it's not strong. Making sure your lines are always going to match up with the horizon. See, there's a little bit of a boob there. My water has stopped right by the edge of the key, so I'm just going to fill that in. A bit of light blue again. Just bring that up to the edge, and then a push. And then I'm just going to make sure that key is slightly overlap with the blue. Strengthen that silhouette there. Give your work a blow if it gets a bit dusty. We also have some lines here, so just take a sharp edge of your pastel and just leave it like that. It doesn't need anything else, it's just a hint. And we're getting somewhere, aren't we? I mean, this is so simple. I really hope you're enjoying it and you're really relaxed with me today. So there we have it. Now, in this area here, there is various bits and bobs that we can just sort of just give it some final touches to, really, just to make it look more complete. Just going to emphasise this a little bit more. It's gone a bit dusty looking for me and a bit opaque. That's okay. Dark usually wins over light most of the time. And there we go. We can always add a little bit more highlighted water coming forward. I'm just going to add a few more streaks in here and drag that across just to make that look a little bit more glassy looking. And likewise up here, you know, we could go in and do something quite similar. I was just going to use I haven't got a lighter orange, unfortunately. I'm just going to tickle with some of this off-white just in places, because you've always got light and dark. And just give that a push again. And it just brings this whole reflection down here into being. And in this orange area, again, I'm just going to put some little light lines in just to make that look like water, because it doesn't look much like water, it just looks like a patch. And, you know, sometimes you need to add to a photograph as well. I often embellish things and change tact on what I'm actually seeing just to create the right effect. There we go. So now we're getting somewhere. And the final things really to do is just the details, which I'll just get onto in a moment. Excuse me. I'm just going to brighten up this picture again like I did before, so you can see what we've got on there. Right. So down here we have some bollards, we have some posts, along here we have a person. So now we can start adding little details that just make it look finished. It's just up here, just put a little dash, something that lives there, bollard there, just little dashes just above that line that you've created. It just brings everything a little more to life. We do have a little bit of a fence way here that we could add if you want to, just very lightly. It's a hint of something there. Soften it underneath the line so it doesn't look like it's part of that. Again, we're getting a bit closer, so these bollards are starting to take more shape than before. And then over here we have a little dude. You put your little dude in if you want. You put 2 dudes in, 3 dudes, 4 dudes fishing, whatever it is to your world. It's just the indication of life going on around it. Just sharpen that line, I don't really like that. But this dude's over there. You could even let's give him a fishing line, eh? There we go. And as we come down here, we have more bollards, but we're just going to use a light grey just to give the hint of pathway. And I'm just taking it on its side and just tickling different lines, thick and thin. It just needs to, now as we get closer, these lines are going to be thicker because obviously the paving's closer to us. And just put the odd scraping line in, here and there. And then, as I say, as you get further away, they're going to be narrower and smaller. But we just want to create this idea of this dock as this nice open area where we've got things in the dark, you can barely make out, barely discernible, but they're there nonetheless. And then all I'm doing now is just gently tapping that back, because all I want is for the person looking at this art to just identify there's cobbles there that are in the dark. Some of them are getting light, some of them are not. We can emphasise on this further with more blacks. We could go in with a darker black, for example. I'll just show you, for example. and in between the spaces we can do the same. We can add some dark areas where we've got none of these light greys. We can just add some extra dark bits. It's just all about building up that idea of texture. There we go. And again, just tapping it back, and all that black to just go into the purple. It's just a hint. We don't want it to be dead strong. We don't want it to take over the picture. It's just a hint of light and dark. I'm even going to do some little pushes as well here and there just to soften it further. And that will do me. Obviously there's some bollards and things that you can see that are just almost discernible. So I'm going in now with this off black because the bollards I want them to stand out. We have one here, so I'm just putting one line in and nothing more, that is it. It's just the hint of one. And as we get closer, these bollards are going to be more discernible and more recognisable. And then we can create more shape on them. So again, it's just another little rectangle shape, nothing much going on there. And then we have a nice big one here, but that one's more rusty coloured. So we'll put the large bollard, which is a nice big what you would expect shaped one, sort of Victorian shape here. Just draw it in. It's just like an arrow with a top on, and just fill it in with the black. It's still quite dark here. And then we can add highlights onto that in a minute. Same principle. I'm really just going to leave the top alone, but just dragging that down in one direction, just like so. And then next to it we have kind of a rusty coloured bollard here. We don't really need to add too much colour. This orange isn't going to show up. I hope it isn't going to show up too much. It's the only one I've got to hand. But I think what I'll do is I'll just trace that in first. We've got a bigger bollard here. Let's be sure of its shape and its structure first before we really fill it in. So that one's sitting about here. I'm just using this brown pencil. It's got that kind of rimmed shape at the top. Straight down like so. The edges. So we put the outline of it in. It gives us a good know where we're going with it. Here we have just some straight normal. Well, I suppose it's kind of like the things that stop cars from getting in. I don't know what they're called. Sorry. We've got one there. And not a lot else really. But this one's rusty as well. Again, just push your finger down onto it. Thank you. This particular bollard here, I'm now going to start adding definition to. I'm going to now make that rim stand out because there's some shade on there. This edge of it is more dark, so using the side of the pastel, I'm just going to scrape across on the horizontal within that space that I've just painted, and just follow that line. And this side of it, there's more light hitting it, so we'll come to that in a second. It's quite dark at the top as well. Just looking at the way the light is hitting the bollard. And just to emphasise this rustiness, over the top of it, just a light scrape, and just let the texture of the paper dictate to you this rusty effect. You don't need to put too much of it on. A little bit on the top, and then we'll put some highlights on it and everything, and then we're ready to go really. We have a little bit more light just here, so I'm going in with a lighter orange, and I'm just going to scrape from the edge of that bollard. It is just literally hints of things going on, and I'm just going to tap that in. Tap, tap, tap. There we go, give it a blow. A little bit more of a highlight just on the top of the corner here with that light orange. And we fill that in, and then we just dampen it down again with a gentle tap and push. And we can re-emphasise where the dark is, going with some more of the black again. It's just a hint of this bollard. It's all it is. It's in shade. It doesn't have to look amazing. It just needs. I mean, look at that. It looks perfectly good. And I've done very, very little to create that effect. Hardly anything. There's a little bit of light reflecting on the corner here. Just bring that down and scrape it off. Same on this edge. Give it a tap. And then that's really it. Obviously this would have a shadow, so I'm just going to put a little bit of black underneath where this bollard ends. There we go. And yeah, that's it folks, that's it. That is it really. A couple of little highlights maybe on this bollard, just where you would expect the light to hit, on the top of this one. And then you can do the same for these over here in the distance as well. Just little dots of light. And then you are done. I think that is it now. So that's it, yeah. Please sign your work. I always encourage you to share your work with me if you will. And it's always good to see how you're doing. I think just one last detail here, it's bothering me. It's just I'm putting a little bit more of that orange in just on that line there. I just think it looked a bit washed out. And that's it, you're done. And I really hope you've enjoyed it. I've now got to run off because I'm going to Lawscourt Art Gallery where I'll be reintroducing my paintings there. So give your work a nice big signature, be proud, share it with your family and friends. Most of all, please share it with me. I love seeing what you do. And please pass this on to anybody that you think it might help. It's always good to share coping mechanisms when we're going through difficult times, and this is just my small way of contributing. And I hope that you join me again next time and that you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Oops, there goes me. I've just dropped my ruler and headbutted the rig. But anyway, there you go guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you next week. Thank you now. Bye. Bye.